other interesting business news, you have Juul seeking $1 billion in funding. Now, this is from an anonymous source that reached out to the Bloomberg News team, and this is also coming from Juul. The company nearly went bankrupt last year because the FDA and the government, U.S. government, actually pulled the product from its shelves, which, of course, is the most detrimental thing that could possibly happen. Before that actual product pull, they were basically the industry leader before e-cig, or for the e-cig vape category. Ironically, it was developed, I believe it was the Reynolds Group, or R.J. Reynolds, back in the 80s as a first vapor-based cigarette that was reusable, but it was like most technologies at the time compared to the 80s versus now, it was comically bulky, heavy, and purportedly it tastes like plastic. So it was the kernel of the idea, but it took a couple decades for us to actually have the real profitable product hit the market. And when it did, Juul was the name in the game. So they were growing exponentially. They're getting investments from the largest traditional tobacco companies on the planet, which those companies are also going to diversify as more and more restaurants and public areas, especially in the United States, are banning traditional tobacco smoke, but they do allow vape smoke or vaping, whatever you like to call it, a silly little act. Now, it looks like Juul is working with Jefferies Financial Group to raise the funds, and the company's valuation is around what is expected to be a little bit lower than the $38 billion that they claim it was worth in 2018. And I mean, in terms of the concept of the e-cigarette, the market is growing exponentially fast, especially in the United States. So in terms of the actual quantifiable numbers, it looks like the number of e-cigarettes sold in the United States increased almost 50% over 3 years ending last December. So the product is growing exponentially. Granted, there's also no real knowledge or long-term studies on long-term health effects of this new product, which is a new wave of concerns that everyone's kind of interested to learn about as well, because the product is relative to, especially traditional tobacco, this product is so new, there's no long-term studies. So there's a lot to be unknown, and there's a lot of concern of the advertisements, some saying it's a safe alternative to traditional tobacco smoking. Well, it does have less chemicals, but there's also other issues as well. You have some, of course, this is anecdotal evidence where you're seeing cases in the news where you have some young folks who are getting into the vaping, they take a copious amounts of it, they're having some respiratory issues. So it'll be interesting to see what the real long-term effects are, and if it is a truly safe alternative. And there's also the argument that it can be used to get away from traditional tobacco. There's a little, I want to say a little bit mixing of the evidence there, because you also hear about people who are getting into vaping for the first time who've never touched a cigarette in their life. So that argument perhaps is not as strong as it used to be when we first heard about this new technology or new product hitting the streets, so to say. It'd be interesting to see. They are the number one name, and shoot, that's half of branding and marketing is just the prestige of that name. It'll be interesting to see, do they get that investment, and can they come back from how high they have fallen. They also just recently said they were going to come out with a proprietary vaping device that would be parental control and age control. So apparently somehow they'll be able to verify your age. I have no idea if it's going to require you to scan a government ID, or maybe they'll show you a picture of a VCR and it'll ask you, what is this? And if you know what a VCR is, presumably you're old enough to use it. Or it'll ask you what a stick shift is, which is the best way to drive 3 pedals all the way. Unfortunately, the youth are not exposed to that wonderful experience, and they probably won't know what that is. So that might be that they'll just show pictures of those things, and maybe that'll help qualify them. But I digress. In all seriousness, they came out with that little preview of a product a couple weeks ago. There's a lot of speculation on will it actually work. Time shall tell. Hey. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of August, so I especially appreciate you taking time to click that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to like as well as comment. Your feedback is greatly appreciated as we make the show better and better every day. I'm really trying to get better at slowing down my pace of speech, so thanks to the comments, I know that it is something I need to focus on. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.